Hello, everyone, and welcome to Make Believe, where we're playing World and Economica. Last time we met Chris, which is studying under Hagana, and we realized that we could use financial math to work on our stocks with the help of Hagana. But is Yoshiharu gonna actually ask for her help? Her for help, but who knows when? But right now, the two of them are going to the shopping center to buy new clothes as they promised Lisa. Uncomfortable at the silence, I veer the situation back towards talking. They got distracted with the solar panel, so I'm guessing around here they're gonna keep going. Or maybe I'm wrong. So, what was it like? The place they're from? Huh? Weren't you born on Earth? What was the sky like? Was it something like that? When you stared at it, would make you wonder if God lived there? Since Hagana apparently had hidden her origins from even Lisa, she probably wouldn't tell me anything related to where she was from. Thinking about that made me kinda want to ask. Curiosity. I really didn't have any knowledge of Earth other than through footage, and I had never asked anyone what the sky was like. Surprisingly, Hagana replied while looking up at the sky. It looked kind of like what it does here. You mean like the moon? Yes, there were lots of mountains and many cliffs. The trees had a ton of prickly things that would prick you if you touched them. Winter was cold and summer was short. There was a lot of fog in the great place. Even if I hadn't visited Earth, I had a rough image of Earth's geography. Cold winters would point to the northern hemisphere, and the place where conifers grew had to be quite high in latitude. So, like, are we talking Canada maybe, or even around there? But as she continued speaking, Hagana squinted and tried to peer through the dome at the spot where the Earth stood. Sometimes it would clear up, and the sky was very blue. The lushness of everything would only shine during those moments. It probably wasn't a bad lie to say that this was something created by God. At the end, Hagana added in something surprisingly thoughtful. However, from that tone, I didn't think that her days were always happy where she grew up. There might be rough folks back home who'd be able to guess where she came from. However, I still couldn't fathom a sky so blue that it would make someone wonder if it was created by God. A blue sky would just be the dome covering a lunar city created scientifically. Yeah, because he never seen anything, a non-artificial sky. However, there wouldn't be one person who'd look at that and think, without a doubt, that this was created by God. And thus, compared to Earth, the moon probably didn't have much of a sky. Hearing the folks from Earth priding themselves over where they came from would merely irritate me, but all that Hagen had said led me want to take a look for myself. While pondering those things, I looked up at the dome with Hagana. Instead of talking about this, let's go get this clothes shopping done already. Yes, that's what I was here for. Hagana, however, looked back down and spoke to me officiously. First of all, there's two me's over there. And secondly, officiously? For me, who had felt a bizarre closeness to Hagana, it felt like being suddenly pulled out of a dream. Yeah. So, which store should we go? And 1 second. I can't tell if... think that fits. So, which store should we go to? She asked with the usual cold gaze. Before I answer, why would you think I know the answer? Fair point. Didn't you instantly find where those flowers would be? So why wouldn't you be able to find a clothing store? Flowers are one thing, clothes are another. Isn't this obvious? Are you an idiot? That's what her furrowed eyebrows were saying to me. Though to be fair, for the flowers, Yoshiharu did his research. This time, he did not even attempt to do research. Going beyond anger, I replied contemptuously. Oh, it is as you have so eloquent phrased. However, a trifling small matter that still remains. Why must I toil and seek out wonderful garments for your highness? Perhaps you could care to enlighten me on this matter. Wow, he really put on all the sass, huh? I have no idea what you just said. She returned my sarcasm with a cold tone and an astonished expression. Please repeat it. And with that single phrase, I ended up having to acquiesce, being at a loss for word. Another word I had never seen before. Hagana was staring at me as if there was some bizarre person in front of her. Lisa, Hagana, there were a ton of annoying women around here. Are you sure you're not the one with the problem, Yoshiharu? Alright, I got it. You're so annoying. Sheesh. You got it. What did you get? I really got angry, but even I knew how embarrassed it was to yell at a girl in the middle of the street. I swallowed my words and Hagana looked at me with even more suspicious eye. Ignoring Hagana, I took out the computer from my bag and turned it on. And during the few seconds of booting, Hagana let loose a fully drawn arrow. What's this? Are you an idiot? True, I probably was the one being an idiot. Look at me, she shrugged, implying that it was totally impossible for her to comprehend. I really wanted to make her cry uncle someday, but I couldn't figure out where to start. Reeling in my impotent anger, I searched for clothing shops like I was her servant. And then, as I stared at the computer screen, I realized the moment to make her cry uncle might be coming up sooner than I thought. Oh, what do you have in mind, Yoshiharu? Here, I found it. Is it a certain type of store? Okay. Looking at Hagana nonchalantly answering me, I chuckled to myself. On the computer screen were arrayed various shops that sold clothes that had been thrown away in the White Belt and Newton City on the cheap. There was one store that stood out among the rest. Yes? Lisa was probably talking about this store, I guess. As long as I used the magical word, Hagana wouldn't say no. You're evil, Haru. Over here. Leading Hagana, I went up the stairs and traversed an aerial corridor that spanned the shopping streets. I fear, what does he have in mind? This aerial corridor connected hallways between buildings, and each floor contained one walkway lined with shops. I stood in front of one shop as I looked down at the stream of crowds. This shop was carved out of the cliff wall that a building was leaning against. It was a common way to save money on construction costs. However, what made me smile with satisfaction was that I had wagered that the shop would have this type of appearance. What appearance are we talking about here? Fancy Mall Luna. Magical fashion. Oh my god. The sign was written in a cringe-worthy font that would make most people faint. Inside the store were fantastic things that one would wonder who'd ever want to try one. Is it like cosplay stuff? Like Magical Girl? Or what are we looking at here? It would be the antithesis of the math-loving Hagana, clad in black from head to toe. The store was full of apparel with polka dot and gaudy stripes or dyed in colors that would make people's eye bleed. On either side of the entrance was a mountain of red plastic hair clips and strange, seemingly useless wooden badges. I'm just imagining here that he's gonna have to go in there as well and try it on. Something. I don't know what. I heaved a sigh when I realized that all the goods here were something profitable to someone, whether they were shipped from Earth or made with the limited resources of the mill. I really felt the weight of the fact that not everyone doing business on the mill was an upstanding person. Wow. Just by peering into the shop, one could see many girls with their heads in the clouds. If the black-clad Hagana were to step in here, it would be as if a witch had entered the premises. I was chuckling at that imagery when Hagana came to a stop and placed her hand on the door handle. I had totally thought she'd be intimidated and was truly shocked at her composure. With that, Hagana opened the door and then turned around and asked me, "What? You think something like this would scare me off?" I ended up imagining her saying that to me when faced with her cold gaze. However, this might still just be her acting tough. "Nothing?" I answered, pretending nothing was wrong. "I see." Hagana gave an easy reply and went into the shop. But as she was about to close the door, she looked as if she'd forgotten something and turned around. "You're not coming?" "Huh? Didn't Lisa say to buy the clothes at the store?" "Yeah, remember? It was both of you. It wasn't just Hagana. So your prank might be going against you." Yeah, but it doesn't look like where I'd be able to shop. I might break out in hives if I actually went to the store." After listening to me, Hagana looked back and forth between me and the shop and tilted her head. "Then I also want to shop where you'd be able to shop." "Huh? We'd be able to get a discount if we all bought at the same place." Ah, so what are you gonna do, Yoshiharu? Are you gonna keep going for a prank, or are you gonna fall into it with her? I mean, that's the same thing. Are you gonna keep going for a prank and fall into it with her, or are you gonna back off? Such a lively line made me pause, but was more at a loss for words due to how terribly logical this was. Yeah, she was not even trying to trick you, like she was just being logical here. In either case, it looked like my heinous plan to make Hagana dress up in embarrassing pink and white polka dot apparel wasn't going to go well. Exactly. Either your prank doesn't work, or you're gonna prank yourself with her. You wouldn't believe how good it would make me feel to see Hagana all embarrassed in front of such fancy clothing. Not wanting to lose a chance at that enjoyment, I tried to make excuses. "No, well, but you see, I don't care if it's male clothing. If the clothes go with you, there'd be no issue of it not working for me." Hagana, with her graceful face and slim hands and feet, stood up straight and proclaimed earnestly. With that, there was no way I could form a rebuttal. It was so bad that I was able to imagine how she'd look dressed up as a boy, and I thought subconsciously that it wouldn't be all that bad. Yeah, I had been moaning and groaning about this and had gotten a lot of astonished looks from inside the store, so I decided to abandon my prank. Thank you. Though Lisa would enjoy this prank too if she had learned of my scheme. Something to get Hagana out of her shell, I guess. "So, where are you going to shop?" I opened up my computer again and looked for a normal, cheap clothing store. She truly was a tough customer. I was in the middle of searching for shops while swearing in my head when... "Miss Hagana?" Oh, another student, I'm guessing? I heard someone call out. I looked up and turned in the direction of the voice. In the aerial corridor 2 to 3 floors below, there were a few people around Chris' age who appeared to be elementary school students. They were full of excitement looking up at us. "What the?" As I was whispering to myself, a brown-haired girl I happened to make eye contact with got all bubbly, cupped her hands over her mouth and whispered to the kid next to her. Friends of yours? I asked Hagana, and she replied quietly. Students. Oh? Goodbye, Miss Hagana. And then the gossiping girls gave us big waves and big smiles. There were, incongruously, 2 boys next to them who were struck dumb with amazement as they looked our way. Then the girls pulled the dumbstruck boys by the ear and brought them with them, disappearing into an alley by the building on the opposite side. I wonder, do the kids think they're on a date? What's with that? I said that, a little confused, but then I looked at Hagana and was even more surprised. She was waving back at them with a light smile. What? However, once she noticed me looking at her, that smile vanished. You could say that there was rather an unfair difference in attitude, but it's not like I was actually flustered by her smile. You talk about unfair difference in attitude. Have you looked at yourself, how you treat Hagana? Yeah, you two are fighting fire with fire, and no one's letting go. I was just totally shocked at how her expression became so gentle once she started smiling. Nothing. I suppressed my excitement, telling myself that it was only because it looked nice. And then, once I had regained my composure, I spoke. I was surprised to see that you really are a teacher. It wasn't wrong to say that I was surprised at that, and thus, it wasn't a lie. She was something, alright. Those kids didn't look like the type who listened to her, but they all become adoring fans. At least, it was something I couldn't do. It's just teaching math, so even I could at least do it. It was again surprised at her unusual modesty, and looking at her strangely tough expression made me wonder if she was a bit embarrassed. However, that's the only thing. Huh? Looking off into the distance, in the direction where the kids appeared, she whispered, That's the only thing I can do. What do you mean? Being able to do that is pretty good, isn't it? I replied innocently, and Hagana shut her eyes and then slowly opened them. Math isn't something that can solve the real problems of the world. I had ended up staring at her profile without noticing. Normally, she'd glare back at me with a what, but she merely glimpsed at me for a second, then continued looking far off into the distance. Perhaps she was just talking to herself. That was probably the case. Sold for her talents and brought to the moon, she had decided to run away from home, and for some reason... Plus, Lisa had talked a bit about Chris' circumstances. She was smart, loved to learn, and would skip out on lunch to earn money to pay her tuition with Hagana and learn math from her. However, despite all that, it wasn't clear whether she'd be able to get into college with a scholarship. That could easily be the biggest gamble of her life, one that could bring her out of poverty. Hagana most likely knew about Chris' family situation, and thus, with that problem in front of her, it must have been painfully obvious to her how little power her math had on everything. Therefore, while looking at her from her side, I could feel my heartbeat rising faster as well. In my head was the idea of using math to trade stocks. On the rare chance that Hagana could accomplish that, she'd probably also be able to solve a lot of problems that have been troubling her. I reflected upon Hagana's expression as she waved cheerfully back to her fond students. So that would solve both of your problems. That sounds like a good deal. From my personal viewpoint, Hagana would simply be an annoying person. However, in reality, that might not be the case. Yeah, you'll probably have some special lenses there towards Hagana. And if that were the case, I was about to ask her something and drew in a big breath. Oh, we're gonna ask now? But at that moment, Hagana suddenly turns toward me. Did you find a shop? Having been asked straight up, I swallowed my words and returned my gaze quickly to the computer. Yeah. Where? Before I could answer, Hagen appeared at my computer screen with her usual squinting eyes. I guess it's around here. And then she walked off. My vision chased after Hagana, and I was about to say something, but nothing came out. I had totally screwed up the timing. Yup, you sure have. I stood there dumbfounded. Hagana, who had gotten to the edge of the steps leading down, turned around to look over my way. Why aren't you coming? Upon those words, I shut my computer like an obedient kid. Hagana, playing the part of the parent, swung her head back arrogantly and started walking again. I didn't really have to force myself to approach that subject. I should just find an opportunity to talk to her about it after I get back to the church. Having made my decision, I went to catch up to Hagana. Why is it something of this level of craftsmanship, 20 moves apiece? She had to grab the piece of clothing from my arms, sat it on the counter, and spat those words out. The clerk, who had been fixing a frayed spot on some item, looked up at Hagana confusedly. Oh hey, we finally got a special shot. Look at that. A lot of black and white clothing, so we're not gonna have much change here, huh? Why is it that the clothes over here are better made from better materials, even though they're 20 moves for 2 pieces? I had chosen a used hoodie that cost 20 moves. On the move, which relied on importing all sort of things, clothing was far more expensive than food. And that soundtrack is kind of strange. Grains had the priority over cotton and hemp in the limited sized fields of the move. You wouldn't die from being naked if the auto elevator were to stop working and clog up the imports. But you could die of hunger. Therefore, even for used apparel, 20 moves apiece wasn't exactly that expensive. Besides, it was in pretty good condition. It was probably leftovers from mass retailers in the White Belt in Newton City. However, Hagana put even more pressure on the store clerk. Did this get the wrong price tag? No, this is a brand name item. It does the higher price. But something from the same manufacturer was in that section for 10 moves apiece. Huh? Ah, but that's one's short sleeve. This one's a long sleeve, so it uses more fabric. Then why is it this 3/4 sleeve item the same price? There's no consistency here. The clerk was taken aback by Hagana's word, stared at her, and then sighed annoyingly. Look, are you trying to tell me to lower the price? Yes. Well, we don't give discounts here. That's odd, even though you have a discount aisle. Those are on discount because it works out for us. I got it. We weren't coming here today to just buy this. We also came here to buy these. Saying this, Hagana took out what was apparently clothing for herself from the shopping basket by her feet and placed them on the counter. What left me dumbfounded was the fact that in the basket were a black blouse, a black skirt, and a pair of black stockings. What a surprise, all black. We appreciate your business. How much cheaper would they be together? No, we really don't do discounts. Our margins are already paper thin. Then why do you discount stuff you couldn't sell? Well, they're leftovers, so... Well then, think of it this way. If we don't buy this stuff, it will remain unsold and become leftovers. That was some ridiculous logic. Unsurprisingly, the clerk thought it was as ridiculous as I did. Look, we priced this at 20 moves because we believed it would sell at that price. When we announce a price drop to 10 moves, you can come back and buy it then. There's a chance it would get sold before then. Therefore, I like to buy it in advance by adding 3 moves to the 10 move discount price. The clerk pulled back and looked down at Hagana while twisting his lips. So she's bargaining. So far, it's not going so well for her. I looked at the two somewhat nervously. Didn't I say this was a pretty good item? It'll sell for 20. Even though something similar is in the discount aisle? Like I said, That's a different manufacturer. There were also stuff from the same manufacturer. No, those weren't hoodies, you know? There were also hoodies. I'm saying those were a different manufacturer. It was quite obvious Hagana intentionally brought the conversation back to square one, hoping to win through attrition. To be honest, I was kind of anxious, not knowing when the clerk would explode. However, although he was a grown man, it looked like he had gotten used to the moon's gravity from his build. There would be no way I'd lose to him if we were to get into a fight. Thus, what was making me anxious was something much simpler. The problem was that going this far would net us a discount at most 20 moves or so. The situation had already gotten volatile, and it would be ridiculous to never be able to come here again over a mere 10 moves. Look, if you have a problem with it, buy elsewhere. The clerk had finally snapped. Hagana stared fixedly at the man, who was far taller than her. I'll make sure to remember the fact that such and such store clerk told me that. Ugh. Just by looking at second block shopping center stores were obviously a dime a dozen. Everyone's struggling to survive, so it's not surprising that even a bit of a bad reputation could be fatal. Hagana trusted at the sales clerk coldly. Okay, fine. 15 moves. She made it sound like she had given up. The clerk put his hand on his forehead and looked down as if he had just met some alien who couldn't understand him. No discount is no discount. And then suddenly he looked up. I had totally thought a fight was going to break out, but the clerk simply replied with a grimace. Okay, I get it. How about 17? He's actually bargaining with her. Haggling, that's the word I was looking for. Okay. Sheesh. I'd never been such rough haggling before. I could totally understand how exploited the clerk felt. Going through all that just to save 3 moves was unfathomable to me. Here, I thought I was shameless, but this turn of events showed me how surprisingly naive I was. Rather than pushing into an explosive confrontation with a store clerk, just to save 3 moves, I'd rather eat the 3 moves with a smile. Making no effort to hide the fact that he was dealing with an annoying customer, he took the items from the cart and started ringing them up. And then Hagana spoke up steadily. Well, I do think that there's a possibility that these other items would receive a discount. Oh no, not again. Both the store clerk and I rolled our eyes at Hagana. Hagana instantly looked back and said, Furthermore, I run a private tutoring service, and my students are talkative and growing fast. She's blackmailing? Do you understand what that means? Her silent message skewered the clerk. If this went well, he'd get new customers. If this went poorly, a bad reputation would spread. So she's negotiating reputation now. This was a big deal for a one-person shop caught in a lose-lose situation. Finally, the clerk looked at me with supplication. What, you're gonna push it onto me? And after I thought that, Hagana broke the silence with her clear voice. Take a further 5 moves off the total price. It wasn't an impossible compromise. The clerk's lips were quivering as if he'd bawl out Hagana any moment now. In the end, though, he lowered his head and gave Hagana a sum total of an 8 move discount. Man, she can haggle. She's very persistent and patient. I was dead tired coming out of the store. Rather than receiving a thankful gesture upon exiting, we received a hate-filled stare telling us to never come again. Understandable, but Hagana acted as if nothing happened. Right after exiting the store, she asked me for my money. 33 moles. Since she had gone with the flow and paid for everything, there was no issue with her asking for payment. But after having to watch all that haggling, I kept thinking I should be the one asking for compensation for mental distress. What? Nothing. Nothing. Not having the guts to really say anything, I was about to pay her the 33 moles she wanted. But then I noticed something. 33 moles? What? Isn't that odd? What I bought was a 20 mole hoodie, 2 shirts for a total of 18 moles, and a 3 mole towel, right? So that would be 40. Wait, that would be 41. So the 8 mole discount was all for him. Together, they should have been 41 moles. Just subtract 8 moles from that. That's what she said, but it gave me pause. No, I'm definitely paying you the 41 moles. I had exactly 2 20 moles bills and a 1 mole bill, so I gave them all to Hagana. 33 moles is enough. She stubbornly refused to take more than that. Weren't you the one who haggled down the price? I didn't do a thing. Regardless, just 33 moles, it's fine. What the hell? I looked at Hagana a bit phased. It was just like winning the lottery for pocket change. What a comparison, but I can't deny that comparison either. I can pay you the full price. You can't. Why not? Hagana remained silent and turned away with a sour look. Sighing, I took the 41 meals and shoved it in her bag. It's not like I'm sweating over small change like that. Besides, that haggling was going overboard, you know? I stopped Hagana's hand from taking the bills back out. However, I didn't stop talking. I felt bad for the clerk, and we wouldn't be able to go back again. That place sure had good prices according to reviews on the net. Scratching my head, I looked over at the entrance of the store. In Japan, where my parents came from, I heard that you throw salt when an annoying customer leaves the store. I was half expecting the clerk to come out holding a jar of salt any moment now. Look at the big picture. Didn't we lose out in the end? Besides, shouldn't you at least learn about the feelings of... When I got to that point in my speech, there was a loud sound and I found myself double over on the ground, clutching my shins. Did she kick you? That hurt. What the hell are you doing? I was about to call her a bee, but then totally froze. Normally, where I'd get kicked out of the blue, I'd fight back and throw my attacker onto the ground with me on top. Meanwhile, he'd be crying, howling, and getting the beaten out of him. However, in this case, I couldn't even get up. It was because Hagana was looking down at me with eyes about to let loose the torrents of the Nile. Okay, I did not expect this. But my head was swimming even more so than when I got kicked suddenly. I had no clue what I should say. Like an idiot, I looked her right in the eyes from which tears could start flowing any moment. What released me from my paralysis was Hagana wiping her eyes briskly, turning on her heels and walking away. And this is the part we're here. I didn't have any time to stop her. I tried hurriedly to get up, but my shins hurt like crazy and I couldn't lift my foot, causing me to tumble over. My mind was wondering whether my legs were broken, but my eyes were fixed on Hagana. Through the breaks in the fences, I saw her going down the stairs and trotting across the aero corridor. The passerby all did a double take, and Hagana was wiping her eyes with her sleeves while running. She was crying. But I had no idea why. What the heck? Why did I have to get kicked in the shins? Why was she the one crying? Bearing the pain and confusion, I somehow managed to get up and fix my bag on my back. It was then that I noticed There were more bills scattered all over the corridor. 'Twas the 41 bills I shoved in her bag. I sighed while picking up the crumbled bills and stuffing them back in my pocket. She really did not want the 41 bills, huh? She got the discount for him instead of herself, and then did not insisted with all her might that he should not pay full price, that the discount was for him, to the point where she threw away the 41 moles. What the heck just happened? My shins were in pain, and the sun was setting. I feel like we should stop here. Like, I don't know how much further the scene's gonna go, but yeah, I think that's a good stopping point. So there we go. Like I was saying, Hagana went all out in that haggling to the point where she got a total of 8 moles discount. And then when Yoshiharu was gonna pay her, she wanted to give him the full discount, not even half and half. So, and she insisted on it, just like she insisted on the haggling, to the point where she cried and threw his money away. She's very stubborn, I guess, but kind as well. Hard to place the right word for her. And she can be very emotional too, even though she's hiding behind a tough shell. So this was a very interesting episode for Hagana. Maybe we'll see more development of that next time. But that's gonna have to wait a week. And with that being said, see you next time. Bye!